I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way.
Greenland is now on high alert. No clearance, no delay. Shoot first, ask questions later.
If things aren't bad enough on home soil, well, the message from Denmark could not be clearer. Attempting to invade Greenland will be met with a, quote, shoot first, ask questions later response. Yeah, this is where we are in 2026. The United States and one of its oldest allies, the country that fought beside the US in 2 world wars, are now issuing a warning that would have once been unthinkable.
I'm a big fan, but the fact that they had a boat land there 500 years ago doesn't mean that they own the land. I'm sure we had lots of boats go there also, but we need that.
There is no more important alliance than the NATO alliance. And Denmark has punched above its weight. It came to Afghanistan, lost 43 soldiers on the ground, fought in some of the most contested regions, honoring their Article 5 commitment to the United States.
I think they lost more soldiers than any other country per capita.
Per capita, they did. And Jake, they were in among the NATO allies at the time. It was 30 nations. They were among the top 6.
Earlier this week, the Danish Defense Ministry confirmed that their military's rules of engagement, a directive from back in 1952, extend to any attempt to seize Greenland. Those rules require Danish troops to respond by force without waiting for orders if the territory is to be invaded. The Danish Defense Ministry have been forced to respond to questions on this matter, reiterating its long-standing defense doctrine because of the unprecedented spike in tensions between Copenhagen and Washington as a result of Donald Trump's rhetoric, of course.
Copenhagen has confirmed that a Cold War-era military rule remains active, but refuses to rule out use of military force to guard territory. According to Danish newspaper Berlingske, the Defense Ministry confirmed that a 1952 rule of engagement requires soldiers to immediately counterattack invading forces without awaiting orders, even if war has not been formally declared.
If the United States decides to attack another NATO country militarily, then everything would stop. That includes NATO, and therefore the security that has existed since the end of the Second World War.
I mean, it's gotten so grim that even those hugging the touchlines of the right wing in government are coming out against Trump's approach here.
So to have the Prime Minister suggest that they have to be prepared for some sort of action by the United States suggests to me that Mr. Miller does not know anything about the alliance, the importance of it. And, generals, I was on Senate Armed Services for 8 years, and generals would always say the same thing. The only thing worse than going to war with allies is going to war without allies. This alliance is critically important. Shaking that alliance sends a signal to Putin that he's winning, and Stephen Miller doesn't represent the U.S. government. He represents the Article 2 branch, and I, as a member of the U.S. Senate, get to weigh into this issue, and I know, whether they say it out loud or not, most of my colleagues agree with me.
The president has on multiple occasions, dating back years actually, suggested that the US ought to control Greenland. But what started as talk of, purchasing the island has morphed into more comments suggesting that military options cannot be ruled out if diplomacy fails. And so as a result of this, Danish leaders have repeatedly summoned the US ambassador and condemned the idea of Greenland being for sale. They have insisted that the island's future must be decided by its own people and Denmark, all of whom seem to be pretty unified on the idea of, hell no, we don't want MAGA there.
I would like to take this opportunity to send a message directly to the United States of America. The US is a big country and Denmark is a small one. We have looked up to you and you have inspired us. Because since the Second World War, you have defended the free world, created prosperity and progress, peace and freedom. And we have tried to give back to you by always supporting you and by showing up every time you called. In us, you have a friend that has always kept our word, a friend you have always been able to rely on. There is nothing I want more than for our friendship to continue. Because if we let ourselves be divided as allies, then we do our foes a favor. And I will do everything that I can to prevent that from happening. Therefore, when you ask our businesses to invest in the US, they do. When you ask us to spend more on defense, we do. And when you ask of us to strengthen security in the Arctic, we are on the same page. But when you demand to take over a part of the kingdoms of Denmark territory.
And Europe's allies, from France to Germany to the UK, they've all publicly reaffirmed their support for Denmark's territorial integrity and sovereignty, not to mention the fact that they were already on high alert, which was then justified after Trump's move to invade Venezuela and capture a leader of a sovereign nation.
Greenland is part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Our close European partners, our long-standing NATO allies, and all our countries work closely together on security issues and will always do so. The future of Greenland is a matter for the Greenlanders and Danes and no one else. I commend this statement to the House.
The future of Greenland is for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark. And it's for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark only. Denmark is a close ally of the United Kingdom in Europe and a close ally in NATO. And so it's very important we stand by our ally and very clear about the future of Greenland.
And that's your message to Donald Trump as well when you speak to him next?
It's my consistent message in relation to Greenland. And so that's not a new position. It is the future for Greenland is for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark. They are a European ally, they're a NATO ally, and we stand with Denmark.
Move that, didn't go down well here, despite what Trump would have you believe. It sparked bipartisan concern to the point that several Republicans sided with Democrats to bring a vote to the floor on the War Powers resolution. And of course, to be expected, this royally pissed Trump off.
The yeas are 52, the nays are 47. The motion is agreed to.
You have to see how some people might be feeling a little bit of whiplash here, given that Trump spent 10 years railing against US-led regime change war. His own director of intelligence, as recently as 2 months ago, was railing against regime change war, and then he does one.
This is where we are right now. Instead of the United States reassuring its oldest allies that it respects their sovereignty and values the NATO alliance, the Trump administration's aggressive posture towards Greenland, whether through tough talk of acquisition, hints of force, or strategies to undermine Danish authority on the matter, they've all pushed those very allies to just articulate how they would defend their own territory if Trump was to go forth with this plan. And they've even gone as far as to declare that the United States is a national security threat to them.
Now, Rasmus Jarlov is a conservative member of Denmark's parliament and chair of its defense committee. Thanks so much for joining.
Hello, Jim. Thank you.
So first, I'd like your reaction to seeing Denmark, a NATO treaty ally, looking across the Atlantic at the U.S. and seeing a potential threat. Tell me how the two countries got here.
We've had great relations with the United States for centuries, and we have appreciated the relations we had since the Americans helped liberate Europe and our country in the Second World War. And we've been very loyal allies to each other for the past 80 years. We've participated in all the major U.S.-led wars in Korea, in the Gulf, and many other places in Afghanistan, Iraq, and so on. So it's not great that now we're receiving threats regarding Greenland, which is the main concern from a Danish point of view.
A bipartisan group of former senior U.S. officials, including former NATO ambassadors, officially warned the White House, threatening to use military force to seize Greenland would severely destabilize NATO as a whole and undermine U.S. relations with Europe. Meanwhile, the Danish Prime Minister has bluntly said that an invasion of Greenland would effectively end NATO as we know it.
Denmark recalls the foundational principle of international law that forbids states from threatening or using force against another state's territorial integrity and political independence. This imperative is enshrined in Article 2, Paragraph 4 of the UN Charter. Members of the UN Security Council have a special responsibility to uphold these principles. The principles of sovereignty, political independence, and territorial integrity must be respected. The inviolability of borders is not up for negotiation. These are universal, sacrosanct principles enshrined in international law. They apply everywhere.
Despite all this, Donald Trump seems willing to put those warnings to the test.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.